Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. I've already mentioned that at Comic-Con 2018, I got the opportunity to sit down and interview Jason Blundell. What I haven't mentioned just yet is that Craig Houston was also there, which was a really nice surprise because Craig was at the panel the previous day. Obviously, they sat down and talked about Black Ops 4 Zombies, they showed the Blood of the Dead intro, they showed off the Mystery Box Collector's Edition, they showed the new statues, they showed the fig pins that are in the Collector's Edition, a bunch of things got showed off, they showed the new 10-year celebration art by Simon Bisley, a bunch of stuff came out of the panel, and Jason and Craig were the two kind of spearheading that, because I guess they're sort of setting the pace for everything going into Black Ops 4 Zombies, the lead writer and the director of the mode, right? Well, and also co-studio head. So it was awesome the next day when I rock up to the interview and Craig was there as well. Great news. I've already mentioned, though, that the interview was just, like, the worst one that I've done with Jason ever, and I think that he'd probably agree with that. Like, it was just not as good as the other stuff that we've done, and I've got quite a high quality bar for myself with my content, especially when it's that sort of thing. There's a reason that there hasn't been another lightning round yet since the original one back during Zetsubo, and it's because in the opportunities where I've felt like it would be appropriate, Jason hasn't been able to do it because he hasn't been able to give enough information, and when he has been able to talk about stuff, I haven't felt like on my end of things, I would be able to provide the exact kind of perfect sequel to that, what is, in my opinion, a completely epic video. So that's the reason I'm having to be really careful about the stuff that I do pull out of the interview that we did, is that I just want to make sure that it is worthy of new content, right? I want to make sure that I'm not wasting your guys' time. So, today, we're talking about something that I think the community just needs some closure on, because I was listening to Zombros the other day, and they were talking about it, and I was like, oh, guys, I got some news for you, and I was talking to people on Twitter the other day about Gobblegums, that's the topic of today's video, and a bunch of people were speculating about various different things for Black Ops 4, and about how Gobbles are going to work. I've talked to Codename Pizza many a time, and every single time I talk to the guy, the first words that come out of his mouth are, is killing time in Black Ops 4 Zombies? Doesn't matter that I'm not working on the game, doesn't matter that I don't know, it just comes out of the guy's mouth, man. He's eager for some more killing time, and today, I'm going to clarify for everyone, okay? I'm going to set the record as straight as it can get, well, with the caveat that Jason just doesn't give a straight answer to anything ever, and explain to you my question about Gobbles from this interview and Jason's subsequent response, okay? I said, and this is about 20 minutes into the interview, so by this point I'd gone through a load of questions. Will Gobblegums return in Blood and Classified? Because those are the two maps obviously in the Ether story. I don't expect the other maps on disc, so that's 9 and Voyage of Despair, I don't expect them to have Gobblegums regardless of what they're doing with Blood and Classified, simply because they're in the wrong story. Dr. Monty, as far as we're concerned, is not a character in that other Chaos storyline, and so Gobblegums have no right to be there. So I say, will Gobbles return in Blood and Classified? Jason thinks for a second and then goes, no. And I'm like, oh boy. Okay. Interesting. Will there be a Chaos equivalent of what Gobblegums were, is my next question. And Jason thinks for a moment and then says, yes. Doesn't really give me much to work with, does he? But he says yes. So, clearly, Gobblegums are not returning in Black Ops 4 Zombies. There will, however, be some kind of system that will replace Gobbles. But, okay, a really interesting caveat to this is that I said, will the same system that we've just talked about being in the Chaos story that he's saying will be there to replace Gobblegums? So I said, will there be a Chaos equivalent of what Gobblegums were? He says yes. I say, will that same system then be in Blood and Classified? Instead of just saying yes, which is the obvious answer, obviously, whatever the new system is going to be in both stories, because he's already said that all the features that they're putting into Classified, for example, are going to be also, for the most part, accessible in another way, with another lick of paint, in the Chaos story, or the same with Blood in the Chaos story, and vice versa. So, perks, for example, are in the Ether story and the Chaos story, but they take different forms in both. In one, it's a perk machine, in another, it's a perk vapor. So it would be very easy for Jason to have said, yes, the same system is going to be in Blood and Classified. but instead he said not talking about that at the moment. I don't really know why he said that. Now, it might have been because of the circumstances of the interview, and I'll get into that in another video because I don't want to kind of paraphrase here and then make it out like I'm telling a story that is not actually what happened. I want to make sure that I'm getting that one right, but he says not talking about that at the moment, and I'm like, that's weird, and I actually pause for a second, and I'm like, okay, will that system have the same effects, like Perkaholic, Killing Time, those sorts of equivalents? And then Jason says, no, not talking about that at the moment. So there was clearly some kind of hesitation to confirm things like Perkaholic and Killing Time coming back. Even more so, there was a hesitation to say whether the Gobblegum replacement system was even going to be in the Ether story. Now, once again, I've got to reiterate, this could have been, how can I say this tactfully, this could have been Jason being a little bit defensive about his answer, just so that he wasn't giving away something that he didn't want to reveal just yet. It could have been that he saw me kind of sniffing around in a sensitive area and just went, no, we're not talking about it. Doesn't matter if the answer is a clear yes, doesn't matter if it's obvious and that you already really know the answer and I'm just reiterating it to make sure that it's concrete, doesn't matter, not answering the question. That might have been what happened, by all means, but I've got to assume that he was giving me that answer because there might be something else happening there. I mean, it's a logical inference to make. So, Gobblegums are not in Blood Unclassified, to really reiterate this once more. There will be a Chaos equivalent, but that won't necessarily be in Blood Unclassified, which means that we might not have a Gobblegum system in those maps, which would be really weird. Like, imagine if Perkaholic came back as like a mix of all the vapors, some kind of brown goo that trickles out of Zeus's spear or something. Does Zeus have a spear? He doesn't have a spear. Zeus's lightning bolt, sorry, Odin's spear. Like, that sounds awful. I said brown because that's like the colours mixed together, but Jesus Christ. So, some kind of god juice, right, that would just come out and give you a Perkaholic. That might be there, but then when we go and play on Blood, we might just have none of that at all. Now, it's a really interesting distinction that is made here because of the fact as well that Mob of the Dead is notoriously one of the easiest zombies maps in existence because of the afterlife system. It's really, really easy compared to a map like Shangri-La, which just busts your balls. It's really not a fun time unless you're a masochist, essentially. So I'm really curious if they've seen that community feeling about Mob of the Dead being an easier map and gone, you know what? What if we just take away Perkaholics, and we take away Killing Time, and we take away all these sort of buffs to your character's experience in the mode, and just make your life a bit more difficult? I don't know. You're in purgatory, you gotta pay for your sins, you don't get a free ride. That's not how the game's gonna work, right? So maybe that's the angle they're going for. And on top of that, a lot of people moaned about Black Ops 3 and said, Gobblegums made the game too easy. You see a lot of streamers, for instance, they jump in a map, they're streaming an Easter egg, and the first thing they do in every single game is pop a Perkaholic. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what I am saying is that that obviously makes the game easier if that is something you can just consistently do in every single one of your games. And so, maybe once again, Treyarch has seen that behaviour in the community and gone, you know what? That's too easy. We want to give you more of a challenge, especially on a map like 5, Classified. 5 is notoriously a difficult map. Is it going to be difficult if we can just get Perkaholics and all our other Gobblegums straight away? Pop a power back and you're just free to go forever? Maybe they want to kind of stamp out that behaviour, I don't know. So, there are options here, right? We know that Gobbles won't be there, regardless of what happens, but we also now can question whether there's even going to be a replacement for it in the Ether story compared to what we have definitely coming in the Chaos story to be that replacement. The thing that I like to come back to with you guys, though, is that do you feel like without Gobblegums, without that system in place, you would feel like you were having less fun and you would feel like you were maybe just having a bit more of a difficult time, and that took away from the experience. I know there's a really broad spectrum of opinions on this, because Black Ops 3, from Jason's point of view, is an intermediate difficulty game. But from a lot of the hardcore community's point of view, it's a baby's first zombies very easy game. You can 255 on, like, basically every map. You can literally hit the limit of what the game allows you to play to. And so, therefore, it must be easy, right? And then, on the other side of things, there are other people who have never done some of the Easter eggs. And obviously, Shadows of Evil is a unique case because you have to have 4 people, but with the other maps, like a Garod, for instance, that's a hard map. And it doesn't matter if you've got a team or not. I probably couldn't do that solo right now, and a lot of other people can't either. And I mean, you talk to Craig Houston, and he talked to me a little bit actually about Zombie Rush, and I'll be making a separate video about that because that is really exciting. He was basically saying that he sucks at it. And he talked in the exclusive, like, one-to-one with the community thing that happened at COD XP for Black Ops 3. He talked then about the fact that he'd never done the Garod Easter egg. He'd just never done it. He couldn't make it through. Obviously, he wrote the story, but he couldn't do the actual Easter egg itself because he just wasn't good enough at the game. He doesn't have enough time to play, obviously, right? So, there's a very broad range of opinions on this, and I want to hear yours for whether you think Gobbles make it too easy, it's a crutch, it needs to be out of the game, there should be no system like that, should it just be like World War II where there are consumables but they're basically useless? Would you prefer that? Or would you be really gutted if that sort of system wasn't there for you to mess around with and pop a Newtonian negation and have all the zombies flying in the air? As silly sounds! Ah, I love the whimsical Gobblegums. And that all came from Noah J, by the way. We've got to give that boy some credit. I'm pretty sure that was Noah's suggestion that birthed whimsical Gobblegums. And so, I mean, I've got to give that boy a pat on the back. I'm not Noah J, but I'm patting myself on the back here. So, that's the news, guys. What do you think? Thanks for watching. Drop a like if you've enjoyed, and obviously, let me know what you'd like to hear about next from my interview with Jason, because we spoke for about 25 minutes, it got cut a little bit short, and a lot of the questions I was asking were actually sourced from you guys from maybe not so subtle hints that I had dropped in the previous week leading up to the interview about the fact that I was collecting material for various lists about zombies, and so a lot of your questions got asked. So if there's a particular thing you want me to get to ASAP that I did ask about in the interview, just let me know, alright? Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.